Well, hey, good evening. We're going to start that way. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup. Appreciate you joining us this evening. We're, of course, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network and sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. And you're probably thinking, man, Keith's riding solo on a Friday night, Denver Bronco Roundup. That's pretty crazy. No, that's not the case, man. Thought it might have been, but I got a great panel for you guys, man. I'm going to kick it off all the way over on the East Coast, 2 time zones away, man. I want to welcome in Mr. Scoops himself. How you doing, Ryan?
How are y'all doing? Keith, good to see you. Thank you again for you guys inviting me on tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to talking some Broncos.
Man, it is going to be a lot of fun. Lots to talk about. OTAs, Broncos, man. But I'll tell you what, man. It's tough sometimes trying to get, the best in the business on your show, man. I've been trying through draft. I've been trying for months and months and months, man. But it's finally happened, Scoop. It's finally happened, man. It's tonight is the night, man. Months and months of waiting. Let's bring them in. That's right, everybody. Welcome back. The judge is here. Jody, how you doing, sir?
Great to be back. Ready to talk some Broncos football.
It's great to have you. Long overdue, man. Toughest man in football to get on a pod, man. It's Mr. Jody Moncrief. But tell you what, man, we got him here tonight, and we're so glad he's here, man. Whew, man, there's a lot that we need to get to, man. I know that we could probably spend 4 hours just talking to Jody and catching up on the last few months, man. But we're going to try to keep it kind of focused. Right now, we're going to be talking to all those OTAs. But first and foremost, I got to get to the posse, guys. Got to say hello to a few people like Mr. Ernie Mays coming in on Facebook saying, go Broncos country only. Yeah, man, it's getting exciting as OTAs are cracking. We're starting to see those guys out there running around, getting those reports. It's fantastic. Go Broncos country only. Absolutely, Ernie. Hello, Miss Pearl. Pearl saying hello to everybody. Hello, how are you? And Graham's coming in on YouTube as well, giving us a big wave. So appreciate you, Graham. Mr. Michael Ronquillo saying good evening, Keith and Scoop. He came in a little bit early before guess who came on the screen, Mr. Jody Moncrief himself. I'm sure there's a hello coming in there for him as well. Clayton, as always, big supporter. All the shows, man. Guy doesn't sleep. I think all he does is go out there and watch pods. He's saying, hey, guys, and doing a better job than I typically do, promoting ourselves, saying smash that like button and share, guys. We appreciate it. Denver Broncos for life, baby. That's exactly right. Clayton's coming in here saying, go Bo Nix, baby. Let's go. Yeah, we'll be talking some Bo Nix. And here's your first hello, Jody, coming in from Pearl. And then
What's
from
up?
Michael. And then Ernie Mays is saying, awesome. Jody's in the house, in the hizzy. Yeah, it's a fantastic night. Just like Clayton saying, great way to top off a Friday night. I'm telling you, took a little time away. Not as much time as Jody, but I'm glad to be on here on a Friday night and stirring up some Broncos talk as well. Bo Nix shining in camp. Absolutely love it. And that's coming in from Clayton. Good evening, all, and ready to talk some football, says Roy Osborne over on Facebook as well. But I'm going to switch back over to that Clayton's comment. I'm going to let Jody take a little bit of the mic here for a second. Man, I hope you got those pipes warmed up, buddy. I know they might be a little rusty. Bo Nix shining in camp. Absolutely love it. What do you got to say for Clayton here, buddy?
No, I love it. With the 12th pick, I think he needs to be getting starter reps. This is a guy Sean Payton handpicked, and the more reps he get, the better. And no reason. We've seen what Jarrett Stidham was not last year, and we've seen what Zach Wilson is not. So he can get all the reps he can and get him ready for week one. That should be the plan.
I like it. I like that mindset. Now whether Bo Nix was shining is yet to be determined. There's been a little bit of mixed reports, but he certainly hasn't looked terrible. He ain't out there leaving some duty in the bed, as I may say, but leaving no duty. I don't know if that's the right transition. Let's get Scoop's idea and thoughts on this as well, buddy. Bo Nix shining in camp, man, and getting those reps with the ones in our first OTA session. What do you think about Bo Nix out there shining, as Clayton's saying, for the Denver Broncos early?
That was a heck of a segue.
Terrible. You run with it, buddy. That's all I got.
No. So again, I mean, I think a lot of us had a pretty good idea coming into this offseason or this preseason rather, as to what to expect at the quarterback in terms of the depth chart. I mean, you guys, to compare it to non-football situation, you guys go and if you ever had a filet of fish sandwich, you've got one that has no sauce on it. They forget to put the sauce on. You got that with your Jarrett Stidham. It's not a lot of something exciting, but you kind of know what you're going to get, even though it's boring. You got the one where the sauce is falling all over the place, and you're like, oh, this is going to be either really good or an absolute disaster. That's your Zach Wilson. And then what we got right now with the Bo Nix is the one where we got the chance to get it right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we're cooking up over there in Denver.
I like the analogy, buddy. I thought you were going to go, with Zach Wilson. Maybe it's really spicy sauce, but maybe we're not sure if there's any meat inside that bun. Yeah, absolutely, man. There's a lot of questions about these Denver Bronco quarterbacks. In fact, I guess Sean Payton, of all the weird analogies, speaking of which, called them a bunch of orphan dogs as they're coming to the Denver Broncos. So I'll put it back over to Scoop. Surprise to you, a surprise to everybody in media as well. What do you think about the orphan dog quarterback room that the Denver Broncos have?
I will say, however you feel about Coach Payton, he's always good for a quote. I'll say that much. Okay. But yeah. So I think that he's probably and we heard the last few days. Coach Payton has said a couple of things. They got Peyton Manning coming on saying a few things. He's made a couple of quotes about both Nix. He made that kind of quip about there's one record he doesn't want him to break, and that was his interceptions record from his rookie year. So I think that there's people are really trying to, I think, find a balance between hyping up this kid, but also not putting the expectations of the world on his back going into the first game. And I think that's a fair balance to try and strike. I mean, you don't want to see what happens out. I mean, we all know what New York media can do and places like that. I think Denver's trying to just let him go out and ball out, and I think that he's in the right place to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I think situation has lined up very well for this to be playing out the way we're seeing it play out, right? But I still got to get Jody's take on orphan dogs. Any thoughts there, Jody? I don't know what to do. I don't know if anybody does, but I'd like to get Jody's thoughts. Mike, buddy.
Like Scoop said, he's always good for one off the wall quote. To be honest, he's got to roll with Bo Nix. That's got to be his guy. I don't have a problem with him taking a shot with Wilson. I mean, he was drafted number 2 overall for a reason. And maybe if Sean Payton is a true quarterback whisperer, he can get the most out of him. If it were me, I think Jarrett Stidham right now is just wasted reps. You can cut him and save $5 million right now today, and let your 2 other guys get reps. We've seen what Stidham was last year, and it wasn't very good.
I agree. Stidham, obviously, this is the weird scenario that the Broncos are in, though. Here we are. We have the number 12 overall pick, orphan dog number 1, I guess. Maybe because he spent some time, out there at SEC and Auburn, and then maybe Oregon. Maybe that's where the orphan dog syndrome comes in. From a Sean Payton perspective, we have obviously Mr. Jarrett Stidham, who's been here, now going on year 2, and orphan dog number 2 spent some time out there with in the New England Patriots, spent some time with the Raiders, and now he's with the Denver Broncos. And then you have orphan dog number 3 and Zach Wilson. And here's a guy that went out there and has realistically had 3 years in the NFL, pretty much starting with the New York Jets, though what a mess the Jets have been over his 3 years. And, I know this is an old story, but once again, I don't care if it's Jordan Love. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if it's Brock Purdy. I don't care if it's Mahomes. I don't care if it's Tom Brady. There's so many quarterbacks that didn't get the week 1 start. Is there a possibility that Bo Nix doesn't get that week 1 start, even though we see him out here, first week of OTAs, getting all the reps with the ones? Jody, I'll throw it to you first, buddy.
Yeah, because I think there's always that possibility that you get number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson. And if Peyton gets that out of him, and it's pretty obvious. Who has the best arm talent out there and that type of things. If Peyton can hone him in on some different things, then I don't see why he couldn't start. But if you get New York Jets, Zach Wilson, there's no reason Bo Nix shouldn't be your starter day 1, and that's it. I don't really see a scenario where Jarrett Stidham starts. That's just 1, wasted money, and 2, wasted reps and time. He's not your long-term starter. He's not even really a short-term guy. I think he's just taking reps right now because you can't have just 2 quarterbacks. Other than that, I think he will be cut eventually.
All right, I'm going to pose this a little bit different over here to Scoop. Scoop, what is the better option then if we're talking about that number 2 quarterback, even if Bo Nix is in that number 1 spot? Would it be better to have someone like Zach Wilson, who has obviously struggled and might be on his last chance to really be somebody in the NFL? If not, backup role might be the best thing he has coming in the near future. Or is it someone like Jarrett Stidham, who has, more time in this offense? He's already got a year with Peyton and more experience across the NFL, at least from a more steady perspective, right? Not the ups and downs and the roller coasters that we've seen with a Zach Wilson. Which way do you go if you only keep 2 quarterbacks on this roster?
Quarterback might be the one position in all of major 4 American sports that I can think of where you're going to a decent amount of the time, especially if it's not your starter, you're going to prioritize. You're willing to take, in a lot of cases, a slight hit at the quote-unquote raw talent level if it means you're putting the right character guy, the right leadership guy in that position in your quarterback room, whether it's QB1 or QB3. I've historically not been a Zach Wilson fan. I know I've called him on this show, I've called him the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL. But aside from that, just looking at the fact that even if you look at his talent back at when he was taken 2nd overall, I know there's a reason he was taken 2nd overall. There's also a reason why half his team turned on him before he got a chance to complete a 2nd year as a starter. So I think that if you're looking at it from just my vantage point, I know that he's not as talented, but and you guys just had a bunch of stuff going on in the locker room last year with discord with whether it's the quarterback or the coach. We'll probably never know where that came from. Yeah. But when you guys were already dealing with that, I don't know why they would even run a 1% risk of re-inviting that. I'm rolling with Stidham at QB2.
I kind of feel the same way, man. I just feel like it's the steady Eddie, right? Especially if I'm looking for a guy who needs to sit behind Bo Nix for the next 3-4 years. Do I want that guy to be Zach Wilson, or do I want that guy to be a Jarrett Stidham? Because really, I just think that, I don't know, it feels, at least at this point, that Jarrett Stidham would be that more consistent answer. And if you listen to some of the feedback that you heard in training camp, he said all the right things. Everything that Joe Flacco didn't say when he came to the Denver Broncos, Jarrett Stidham said today. Hey, I'm there. I'm teaching him tricks. I'm trying to help him out. I've already been here a year. Anything I can do to help these guys, I'm trying to give them that opportunity. Brian Hoyer did it for me when I came into New England. I'm here for these guys. That's what I'm trying to do. Actually, kind of sounded more like a coachy than he did a quarterback out there. And quite honestly, his demeanor maybe on taking reps kind of felt the same, as he didn't seem like he had a whole lot of hustle from what I understood out there either. So who knows what's happening in this overall quarterback room. But I'm going to get to a few more comments. I guess I'll put that one back up because Graham did have a great point over on YouTube saying training camp matters. OTAs are just the beginning. And yeah, we're kind of underwear Olympics, plus one, I guess you could say. We're not out there just doing combine drills, but we're not doing much more. And we're just getting a feel for what these guys are. So I agree. It's going to continue to heat up and stack up as we get through, training camp, and then obviously into preseason when we get some real answers, I think. Pearl's pointing out, she's saying Sean Payton is known for having the rookies sit their first year, when we were talking about Bo Nix and maybe his possibility of starting. Bo Nix, backup being Wilson, that's all we need. Still saying 10 or more wins this season, any given Sunday, says Ernie Mays over there on Facebook. So Graham saying NFL is year-by-year league, and that's for dang sure. And Michael Ronquillo coming in saying Sean Payton said one is coming from college and one is coming from 3 coaching systems and one is coming from 1 coaching system for our orphan dogs that we were talking about. But he had another question, or at least another comment that we can kind of roll right into, because it was the other big story that came out of, this first little session of OTAs that we've gotten. And Michael Ronquillo coming in here. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to point out a little bit earlier, Clayton not only reminding us to drop stars and saying to like, share, and subscribe, but he dropped a little stars of his own, man. So I appreciate you very much, Clayton, supporting the show. And if you have another question, feel free to drop it in the comments as well. But Michael Ronquillo comes in here and says, tight end Lucas Kroll is getting some love from Sean Payton. And yeah, you should have seen Sean Payton if you haven't seen it. In his little media presser, man, did that guy light up when he was asked about Lucas Kroll and what he has shown out in OTAs. Jody, I'll go to you because I know that you might have already seen this, being a Bronco loving fan. And I'll go to Scoops on a second because I wasn't quite sure if he's seen it. But what do you think about Lucas Kroll and what he's shown so far in OTAs?
Yeah, I really liked it. The way he ended last season, I liked how he was playing, and he's taking that right into OTAs. Especially with Greg Dulcich still sidelined, which to me is a major red flag. I mean, how bad is the hammy still if he's still sidelined? But yeah, I think Lucas Kroll has a really good shot at being tight end number 1. We didn't see much production from Adam Troutman or our other tight ends. Lucas Kroll probably was the most productive, and I think if he continues what he's doing, he's in line to be your starter day 1.
It sounds as if, obviously, just like I said, the star of this session of OTAs, you have Sean Payton just glowing and lighting up as he's talking about you. And I got the nod from Scoop over here. Scoop, what are your thoughts on Lucas Kroll as you maybe got some reaction of how the Broncos felt about his performance so far?
Right. So, I mean, you guys talked a little bit about it last year. He caught his first tight end against the Patriots, I think was that game. And then what he's accomplished, you obviously alluded to the quote about Peyton saying, if they don't know who 85 is, they're going to know who 85 is. And he also, again, we talked last year about, we'll talk about it throughout the offseason as well, how Coach Payton loves his guys with his connections, right? And Kroll, after going undrafted, he had a year under offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael, who's now a top right-hand man on the offensive coaching staff for Denver. So there's a bit of a connection there as well. And I'm not exactly thinking that Adam Trautman is someone who's really got a stronghold on the number one job, even if Dulcich isn't ready to go. So I think if he continues to do that, as they say, next man up, I think he's putting himself in a strong position to not only do that, but also just we know, especially for young and rookie quarterbacks, how that tight end role and that tight end one role can be a particular impact. I think that if he continues to do this, not only do I think he could get that position, but I think he could play a strong role for Denver fairly early on in that role as well.
And I think there was a reason Denver didn't draft a tight end. There were many people calling Denver out for not taking a tight end.
Yep.
And now that you see Greg Dulcich still hurt, there was a reason behind them still not drafting one. And I think this might be the reason, or is a pretty good chance this is the reason right here.
Yeah, it has to 100% be the reason, right? I mean, to not address it in the draft at all, you're talking about, hey, the Broncos were sitting there at 12 and had an opportunity to get one of the top tight ends, right? But not only that, they didn't address tight end anywhere in the draft, right? And this was a position that some people said, hey, this is a glowing need, that just is a beacon in the night. Go out there, get your tight end, Not the case. We didn't end up doing that. And now, like you said, you might be seeing why. Number 85 might be the reason why. But this is the question that I have then. You have Kroll, who is now rocketing up to maybe the number one spot as far as the tight end is concerned. You have Adam Trautman, who's a favorite. You have Nate Atkins, who continues to just hang around and even gets put into the roster and into the lineup at times. And then you have Greg Dulcich. So when you're trying to figure out who's on this roster and who's not for the tight end position, who's the odd man out in your opinion? I'll go to Scoop first on this one, man.
Again, I really don't like talking, super disrespectfully about, and I'm not trying to do that. That being said, Adam Trautman, I don't know how you mentioned him as a favorite. I don't necessarily know. I mean, this is still a group that the Pro Football Focus, which I highly recommend if people haven't checked them out, that still had them ranked as dead last of a tight end group last year. So even if you're coming in as the top guy from last year, when you're a 32 ranked group, I'm not particularly, having you in Sharpie as my number one starter. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're looking at it from that perspective, and if Dulcich is able to come back healthy. I don't think in any way, shape, or form I would say Trautman definitely has a number one job, just because he was. I mean, he was number one last year, but they were really bad last year. You're not trying to roll things over if you're really bad from one year to the next.
Just because you are the best of the worst doesn't give you much security, according to Scoop. So yeah, absolutely. The thing is that Trautman obviously brings some blocking capabilities. You have Adkins, who's a fullback / tight end hybrid, so obviously he has some blocking abilities. And then you have Greg Dulcich, who's pretty much a receiving tight end and has trouble being, staying on the field. He's been injured. We're still worried about a hamstring. I'm going to ask you straight out, Jody, does Greg Dulcich, is he possibly the man left out as far as this tight end room?
That's where I was gonna go. On paper, a lot of people are probably going to say Nate Atkins, but Greg Dulcich can't stay healthy, and we're going on year 3, and he's still not participating. It's not a good sign, and he doesn't block, so that's already a downfall of his, and he doesn't stay healthy. At some point, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't stay on the field, then what good is it really? He, I think, has a lot to show this year. One, he's got to stay healthy, and one, he's got to produce, or he very well could be the odd man out.
Yeah, here's an investment that, didn't come from the Sean Payton regime. Again, he thought he might be able to make him into the Joker as they all teamed up. But so far, the joke's been pretty much on the Broncos and Sean Payton, as it's been tough to keep Greg Dulcich on the field and be productive. And legitimately, if you can't go out there and you can't block within a scheme that I think is going to be much more running dependent than what we even saw last year. We're going to need some blocking tight ends out there. It's simple as that. So, got Pearl coming in and said, could be other players were higher on their board and it was the best available. When we were talking about tight ends and quarterbacks and stuff like that, again, absolutely right, Pearl. If the board isn't ever lining up, if it's always a reach to get this guy, reaching up, reaching down in order to try to get the tight end that you deem valuable where you're at, then it doesn't match up and you have another guy, then you go after that guy a lot of times. So good point, and I appreciate it, Pearl. We got Kayleon Green coming in here. Always been supporting a lot lately, so appreciate you coming in and saying yo, and yo to you, man. Appreciate you jumping in and being part of the conversation. Nigel's coming in saying, hi, I'll receive my prizes from Keith and they look great. So nice. Nigel, I appreciate that you jumping in. You were obviously part of that big draft show that we were doing, and I think I want to say that might have came from Kenny, because my prizes didn't go out to unless Nigel, I get it. You have a second name, I bet you have a second name, like an Aussie Wombat type of name. So Nigel, I hope you, if it is from me, that's the name I sent out to, and I didn't have your real name, so it went out to Aussie Wombat. Pearl's coming in and saying, Greg D has to perform this year or he's bye-bye. Yeah, I don't even know if he might even not even get that chance. So yeah, Nigel saying I am Aussie. So I'm glad I finally got there, customs and all. So
something some people overlook is Brock Bauer was on the board when Denver picked, and he was the consensus number 1 tight end, and Denver passed on that. I know that there were some other reasons why they took Bo Nix, but if they really felt that tight end was such a massive need on this team, I mean, the best tight end was right there, and they could have done some, wheeling and dealing to get back up there to get both him and Nix. So not taking the best tight end in this draft, I think, says a lot for what Sean Payton thinks of the tight end room.
If I may add on to that real quick, not only did they not go best tight end at that position at number 12, they did so knowing that their division rival was picking right behind them and would likely take them. So not only were they comfortable not taking him, they were comfortable running the risk that someone that they would be seeing multiple times a year would take him.
Yep.
100%. And that's something to be said. I think it says more about Bo Nix than anything, too. I hate to say it, you had to believe, because the easier pick would have been Brock Bowers. The easy pick, if you had any hesitation sitting there at that pick, would have been a Brock Bowers. He was a consensus top talent. He's going to be a top wide receiver. He's going to be tough to play against now that he's out there with the Las Vegas Raiders, and we'll be matching up against them twice a year. Yet again, another tight end option in the AFC West. It'll be difficult, but I'll tell you what's not difficult, guys. That's our heading over to our fantastic sponsors website, or not their website, their Facebook page. I'm sorry. And that's Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices. With over 33 years experience in the industry, guys, they know what they're doing. They used to be nationwide, but now they just concentrate on Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming, with fantastic shows. If you head on over to Morgan Trinkets, I'll drop the link in here in just a moment. Head on over to Morgan Trinkets' Facebook page. You'll see all the shows that they have lined up, ready to go, and believe me, they're busting. They're going to every show in the area. But if you don't make it to one of their shows, just head on over to Facebook. You can see all their inventory. You can message them if you're looking for something in particular. All their shipping is free as long as you spend over $50, and they transact with PayPal on Facebook. If you head over to their shows, all major credit cards are taken as well. So not only Southwest Jewelry, Pottery, and Estate Gold, like I said, 10, 14, 18 karat gold, all real gold, and sterling silver pieces as well, guys. And like I said, all their silver pieces are all sterling silver. Tongue twister right at the end. Head on over to Morgan Trinkets, fantastic sponsor. And I'll tell you what, Posse, that's our, if for anybody who's new, anybody in the comments, anybody that's dropping some knowledge, some questions, some thoughts, you're part of the Posse. And the Posse's been really supporting Morgan Trinkets. We appreciate that. Head on over to Morgan Trinkets today. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of move it along with this OTAs and more than anything, hey, it's Sean Payton brought it up. Multiple people have been talking about it. There's going to be some big battles throughout this roster, different position groups. And one of the ones he spoke about was not only the tight end group, but also that wide receiver group. As we started to see, people like Devon Vele, that's been looking pretty good out there. I've heard reports of Marvin Mims Jr. looking a little bit tighter in his routes. And we have obviously a little bit of a holdout situation that Sean Payton's not worried about. It's all good. He's a leader in the locker room in Cortland Sutton, and they expect everything to be sorted out in the near future. But that all being said, man, talk about this. I'm going to throw it over to Jody first. He's going to jump off mute and say everything he knows about this wide receiver room and this group and these battles that we're going to have. Don't forget about Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, Jalen Virgil.
No, I think this room is underrated. I think Josh Reynolds was an underrated signing. The guy that goes over the middle a lot in Detroit. Getting Tim Patrick back. From all reports, it looks like he's out there running good, clean, crisp routes. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And you have little Jordan Humphreys and Brandon Johnson still, who were on this team last year, who I thought were underutilized. Like you said, Jalen Virgil coming back off an injury. Expect a big leap from Marvin Mims, and then Cortland Sutton. You hear all the debates: is he a true number one, or what is he? That's all up for debate or whatever. Good, conversation. But he's a guy that caught 10 touchdowns last year for this team and made big plays, and I think you would used right and a quarterback that will throw over the middle and different things. I think he can be 1,000-yard, 10 touchdown receiver for this team next year. I wouldn't. There's a lot of people saying trade him. I would not. He's a leader on this team. He produces. He makes great catches. I think he proved last year he's 100% healthy off of the injury a couple years ago. And me personally, I think that's one of the least impacted or least rooms on this team that people need to worry about. I think we have good depth at wide receiver and a quarterback that can get them the ball over the middle and stuff. I think they'll be used the right way.
Yeah, depth is one thing. Trying to figure out who you keep and who you don't might be a completely different thing. This is going to be a super competitive room. I'd love to see Sutton in there sooner rather than later. I hope Sean Payton is right. Things get worked out and he has no worries and he comes in and he's ready to go. I always worry about holdouts of any sort. I know it's just OTAs right now. Don't get me wrong. It's not like some big training camp holdout right now, but just love to see the guy in the facility, working with our guys. But Scoops, give me an idea. Give me a thought of this wide receiver room and how it ends up shaking out. Like I said, it's a packed room, man. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I've been saying this a lot, it seems, lately, but there's going to be names on the street that Broncos fans are used to hearing, in their jerseys. So, what do you think of the competition at wide receiver?
I have some level of agreement with Jody that I think that this is not a room that I think I'm like super concerned about. I do have a little bit. I'm not sure that I would have traded Jerry Jeudy the way at that time personally. Again, I don't have a problem with the fact that they did. I just don't think they needed to. And I think that now that they've got the Cortland Sutton thing, I think it, again, but hindsight is 2020. You couldn't have necessarily foreseen that Cortland Sutton was going to be like, hey, just give me more money and not show up. So, that kind of is a little bit of revisionist history there. So, but the whole Marvin Mims Jr. Was just mentioned in the last week as somebody who could have a significant breakout year. He was predicted to be the breakout for the Broncos, which I could definitely foresee. Josh Reynolds, I think, is a guy that they've got now who I like, but he also has only caught touchdowns between two teams from Jared Goff, both with LA and Detroit. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I do like a good number of the receivers that they have over there. Obviously, we can't forget about Troy Franklin, and I know that a lot of guys over in Denver have not forgotten about him.
Except for me.
And then you go down the list. You've got Johnson, you've got Humphrey, and on and on. So and wide receiver tends to be one of the positions that if you want to add guys later in the offseason or even going into early part of the season, that tends to be a position where you can pick up a guy either on waivers or for one of those 7th round draft pick type swaps if you so desire.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, one of those positions that seems to have depth out there, doesn't matter what time of year, if you need to pick up somebody, there might be somebody out there that you can go out there, fill a spot, fill a hole, hopefully can be a contributor, but it's not a death sentence like maybe losing your starting quarterback or something like that. You just don't go pick one of those guys up on the street, right? So
right.
One thing that might play into this too is the new kickoff rule and special teams.
That's a great point.
Some of these, who's going to be your 6th or 7th wide receiver, who's willing to play special teams, and 2, who can return, who's going to be our returner next year. If Mims takes a leap like everyone thinks, I don't know that you want your number 1 or number 2 wide receiver back returning punts and kicks.
Or could they potentially put a defensive back there instead?
Yeah, it's going to be totally interesting to see what they do with this new kickoff rule. Until I see it in preseason, I don't really have a good answer for what to expect, really, other than chaos. I think you're going to get chaos.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm going to hit that maybe here in just a second. I'm going to catch up on a few comments, but Pearl's, because just reminding us, saying, I feel it's way too early. To me, it's a wait and see. Hey, yeah, OTAs, we're getting a little excited. You know what I mean? We're starting to see these guys, in jerseys, in helmets, run around in Broncos looking pads. And, it's tough not to get a little ahead of ourselves. But, we wait for, especially when we exit early or don't get into the playoffs at all, like the Broncos haven't been doing. We're waiting for that next cycle to come through and get a little excited about a few things. Ernie Mays is coming in and says, I'm always confident on my team. Every year we will be better. This year, go Broncos country only. Michael saying wide receiver Cortland Sutton no-show is a problem for the Broncos in his mind. But I got to get to this one. Phil McLaughlin out there on vacation with the family saying, hey guys, on vacation visiting family and just sending some love. Yeah, absolutely. You're sending some love, buddy. 200 stars. Phil McLaughlin just dropped in on us. So Phil, thank you very, very much, man. Awesome. Not only dropping stars, man, but tuning in when you're out there on vacation. I appreciate that. We mean so much to you, and you certainly mean a ton to us as well, Phil. So any thoughts, don't hesitate. Ernie Mays is saying, nice, Phil.
He's sending stars while being one himself.
Well said, Scoop. Well said. I appreciate that, man. Let's get through a few more battles, man. We have a little bit more time, man. And I know this is one that Jody's really excited about because it's a guy, it's a room that we added a guy from one of his favorite college teams from. Let's talk a little bit about Audric Estime and how he's shaking up this Denver Broncos running back room for a guy that, not the running backs are taken at the very top of the draft anymore, but wasn't taken all that high. But, man, he's certainly making a lot of noise, man. What do you got to say about Jody, about Audric Estime and this running back room?
Audric Estime, I love the pick. Being a huge Notre Dame fan, he's a beast. The guy is a Marshawn Lynch clone. I mean, he runs hard. He can pass block. He can catch out of the backfield. I'm pretty sure that his 4.6 40 at the combine really hurt him. but he came back at pro day and ran like just under a 4.5. So, if in my opinion, if he's not starting day one, he's your starter probably mid-season. That's just the kind of running back he is, and that makes either Samaje Perine or Javonte Williams expendable. And don't forget, I've been hearing good reviews about the guys. I can't think of his name's escaping me from Memphis.
Blake Watson, yes.
Blake Watson. It sounds like he is incredible at catching out of the backfield. That may be a battle between him and Jaleel McLaughlin for maybe RB3 if Denver would or something. I mean, it's a good problem to have, and I hope it's something that with a rookie quarterback or a quarterback that has not produced, if it is Wilson, that Sean Payton does focus on it and actually commits to it. Because last year, although the numbers say that he did, I can't really, besides one game, actually call out a game that we focused on the run and really committed to it.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of things may have come into those decisions, but you're absolutely right, man. Outside of a Cleveland game, I'm sure that's the one you're speaking of. That's the one where we committed to the run. We actually looked like
I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole tonight on why.
No, I don't want to either. We won't go down the whys, but you're absolutely right. Cleveland was about the only game last year that we actually looked like we were out there determined to run the football. And I'm looking just between what we've continued to build, I think, underneath the Sean Payton regime, what we're putting together, and the fact that you add in a rookie quarterback, all signs point to we should be certainly a little bit more concentrated on running the ball and it being evident in games more than just one throughout the entire 17-game stretch. Head on over to Scoop. Scoop, what are your thoughts, man? This is a packed room. I saw you nodding your head on Blake Watson. We have Javonte Williams, who, is a guy that really we didn't know what to expect last year. Didn't live up to the expectations once we did get him in there. And now maybe he's being seen the door because he came back really good last year from an injury. I'm not sure what's happening there, but you got Samaje Perine, you got McLaughlin. I mean, list just seems to go Audric Estime. We can keep going and going. Mm-hmm. It's again a great problem to have, maybe, as Jody said. But what are your thoughts on this running back room?
Definitely is a great problem to have. I think it's going to be. I was surprised. I think this is the first time Estime has come up without having either Mr. Dutchy or Paul on the show. But I think that having the whole, the stable of backs that they have, again, and I've said this before, I think a lot of it's going to come down to, I think, how their O-line looks, because so much of the running game, runs through that I think as they start to see where their strengths and weaknesses are there, that may have an impact on how they sort of divvy up those touches in the backfield. I think that if you're looking at just based off of what they've done so far, I think that if you're asking me, solely between Williams and Perine, who do I think they'll keep? I think I would keep Williams over Perine personally. Mm-hmm. Then again, I've seen more of Perine from his time in Washington, so I've got more of an opportunity to see what he struggles with, if that makes sense. Just again, my opinion from what I've seen. I really like what they have. Each of those guys, I think, has a couple of things that you can really sort of dream on and sort of whatnot, and also has a couple of things that you can really say, this is definitely a hole in his game. So I think it's going to just depend on what how their offense starts to run, what they think they're going to lean into as a strong student. I think that will help dictate which backs they lean more into.
I have one other thing too. One thing I think where Denver's in a good position is there's always a team that's in contention that loses a guy early or something, and that's where Denver has, 3 running backs in Williams or 2 in Williams and Perine who have started games, and I think that's where you can get some value, especially if you have made your decision that you're high or confident enough in Audric Estime to go in there and be your number one.
Yeah. Insert Baltimore Ravens as of recently, right?
Yep.
Seems like they've been that team that has been looking for a running back every single year when the just about when the season starts. So Michael Ronquillo saying running back Audric Estime will run through you while running with the ball. I like that one. Graham kind of talking about, hey, where's the value and what is possible? He's saying, I wouldn't be shocked if Javonte is traded. However, who's going to trade for a running back with a torn ACL in his history? Yeah, I think that unfortunately, the trade value for a Javonte Williams is fairly low. I mean, we already know what running backs garner in the market as it is right now for the NFL. It's a passing league. Running backs don't bring a whole lot. We saw the glut that we saw sitting out there last year about this time on running backs. We were wondering who's going to land where. It got a little bit better in this offseason, but I don't think it's a place where teams are desperate for, a guy that, had one good year, completely blew out a leg basically, and then came back kind of mediocre. I don't think they're running to sign that guy up necessarily. It's a good point.
I've been saying Dallas for a while just because they still are loaded on offense. Can they really go into this season and fully trust Zeke after the last couple of years?
I think they're really trying to make the Zeke thing happen, so I think they'll give him a second, third, and fourth chance because Jerry Jones can never be wrong. But I think that once they get through that part, I think that becomes possible, maybe closer to the deadline.
I'll hit a couple more comments, and I want to hit one more group. Michael Ronquillo is just saying, run the ball behind right guard Quinn Miners. And I just really briefly on that, keep in mind, we brought in Powers, we brought in McGlinchey. These are all run first type of guys right up front, and that's another reason. Like I said, the build has been brewing for this to be a more of a run first type of team. Pearl's coming in and say, I also want to see who gets cut from the other teams when they have to make those hard cuts. Yeah, we always talk about the glut that we have, in different positions, and how tough decisions will have to be made, and maybe great names like a Javonte Williams or a Tim Patrick maybe isn't on this team when it comes right down to making the 53-man roster and making those final cuts. But guess what? Other teams have to do the same. And that means that, there might be some names that we can pick up, especially at key positions and places that we have needs and wants. So be on the lookout for that. And that's a great play. That's a great point, Pearl. Last position I wanted to get to. I really feel like when we coming off this running back conversation, that running back room is one where we could really see the competition really get heated, and really, I mean, not from at each other, but just, I mean, you better bring your best. And when you bring your best, sometimes you're just getting better every single day, making the cream rise to the crop, as you may say. The last place I want to get to, guys, is a place that Sean Payton pointed out, and that was the secondary. He didn't necessarily name cornerback, he didn't necessarily name safety, but he said that there's going to be a lot of competition in this secondary. Now, we could look at the safety position when we obviously with the removal of Justin Simmons, but we also have that cornerback position when, hey, we have one spot locked down when it comes to PS2, but a lot of other things are up in the air. So, I'll go to Scoop first on this one. Scoop, what are your thoughts on this Denver Broncos secondary, the competition that is there, and really what needs to happen in order to see the cream rise to the crop, and who is the cream, if you have any predictions, I guess, in a couple of those spots?
Right on. So first and foremost, I just want to, from a Broncos standpoint, I'm glad to see that they held on to PS2 because I think that there was an insane amount of rumor for that to be the case. And I really never got that from their standpoint, unless they were really going full rebuild, which just did not seem like a Sean Payton thing to do. If they went full rebuild, I think it made a lot of sense. But if they weren't, then I didn't think it made sense at all. So the fact that he's still there and the fact that it looks like they're sticking by him, I think is good to see. Having a safety who just came off of a career year like Brandon Jones way there in the back, I think is going to be helpful. There's a little bit I'd like to see a little bit more. I don't love looking at a guy like Mathis as my CB2, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to get from Stearns playing over in the strong spot. So looking at those guys, I wouldn't say I don't love what they have. I'm just saying I don't know what they have. So I would hope to believe. One thing you can say optimistically with Mathis is it's somebody who, among 127 cornerbacks last year, was ranked second worst in the NFL. You've really pretty much got nowhere to go but up. So, my hope is that there'll be a decent improvement for him. And then if we start to see, if you can at least just give me league average production from Stearns back there, then I think that they're in a good position. And I like Singleton as your linebacker, or at least one of your linebackers, more than I think some people do, because I've seen what he can do when he's on, and he was definitely underrated when he was over on the East Coast.
Agreed. Speaking from a Philly guy who got to see him a little up close, so I agree, man. I liked Alex Singleton as well. I was watching him for different reasons. He went to Montana State University, and I reside here in Montana, so
cool.
I was watching him for that reason. That being said, yeah, there you go, man. I like the analysis, man. It's unfortunately, I think you're in the same boat. And you didn't help us out much, from an outside perspective, because we're kind of in the same position. We really don't know what we have, man. And that's an uncomfortable feeling, whether it's that cornerback 2, whether it be that safety position. But Jody, I'm going to let you roll into this and give me your thoughts. How's this going to shake out when it comes to our safety and our cornerback 2? Because we do have competition back there, but it's not the stalwarts like Justin Simmons, like we've had in the past. So it is big competition. It's a new name. And just hit your mic when you get a second, bud.
I like our secondary. You have the best corner in football in Pat Surtain. I think Levi Wallace was a very underrated signing from Pittsburgh. We seen 2 years ago what Devari Mathis could be. I mean, he showed flashes. Hopefully he gets some things turned around. And there's a reason Denver moved up last year with limited picks to go get Riley Moss. Hopefully he should be 100% healthy now. And I think that's a guy that really can compete for that number 2 spot. And I like Jaquan McMillan in the slot. I mean, he produced pretty well last year. And then at safety, PJ Locke was signed right away. I mean,
true.
I remember games when he would leave injured or something, and everyone was clamoring. Hopefully, he plays. It was a big for him to get back. So I like PJ Locke. We've seen what Caden Stearns can be as a rookie, but he falls right back into like the Greg Dulcich conversation. He needs to stay healthy. If he can, I think he can be another top safety. And then you sign Brandon Jones, who, put up pretty good numbers in Miami. And you still have JL Skinner, who, is an unknown, but he was a big hitter out of Boise State.
Yep.
So I like Denver's. I mean, there's a couple of unknowns who's going to really go grab that number 2 cornerback position. But at safety, I'm really high at safety. PJ Locke especially, he really proved that he earned a starting job last year, and now that Simmons is gone, he needs to take a leadership role and continue to grow in that position.
Yeah, he needs to take that leadership role and kind of run with it. And you're right, man. Like they went out, they got him taken care of almost right away. So PJ Locke obviously is definitely within that mix, but it's just I know there's a lot of competition, and we're excited about this guy for that reason and that guy for this reason. But man, I'm telling you, this is a place that I think that we need some solidity. This is a place that, whether we've taken those flyers on Mathis or Moss, or we've brought in Fabian Moreau, or we've tried Jaquan McMillan out, or now we're talking about PJ Locke or Stearns, or we're bringing in, Brandon Jones. I mean, I just, these are some places that we need some stability, and in a place that, as far as I'm concerned, we've talked about, hopefully the cream rises to the top. This is a place that I feel we need that more than like the group we just got done talking about in the running back.
We need to see more than potential.
Exactly. You know, that running back room, I feel like, hey, if we need to run with one or two of these guys, we're good. Wide receiver room, I feel like, hey, if we need to, you know, take the top 5 guys off this roster and run with them, we're good. When it comes to cornerback, when it comes to safety, it feels like there's a lot more questions. And I'm hoping, you know, OTAs, you know, training camp, the whole 9 yards, this really helps sort out, you know, again, some solidity when it comes to a couple of these positions that we can rely on moving forward. But go ahead, buddy.
Do you feel Simmons was let go just as a money reason, or do you feel that they are high enough on PJ Locke and Caden Stearns that they said we can let that big money contract go and age for 2 younger guys?
Yeah, I mean, the contract didn't age well. You know, safeties aren't getting paid what they were when he got that contract. That's kind of fallen off. I think that's one part of it. You know, the one piece I don't think that we should overlook is I think there's a certain little bit of a turning of a page that Sean Payton wants to have. You know what I mean? And make sure that, you know, you're moving forward with the kind of a fresh group, a fresh staff, you know, not the Justin Simmons, who's the oldest guy on or the longest tenured Bronco on the roster, who hasn't won a playoff game or been in the playoffs, or, you know, at some point you kind of move past that and give yourself a new identity, you know, and it's tough to do when you have that kind of hanging around. I think there's a ton of respect for him, and I think he'll get a great job someplace else, but I think it was a turning the page, and I see Scoops was agreeing, so I'll let you run with that, buddy.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things when you're looking at, you know, just sort of a changing the guard, or however you want to phrase it. I think as much as it's a challenge watching some of those guys, whether you're a fan or a young player, whatever it is, watching some of those respected older veterans kind of walk out the door, whether that's for monetary reasons, whether, you know, whatever it is, I think that in some situations that can be almost a necessity if you really want to, if you, like you said, turn the page and kind of develop a new culture. Not that he's necessarily going to be in any way negative to a culture, but I think sometimes you, pardon me, like we see this happen with teams, whether that's, you know, in NFL, you know, it's happened. I mean, you guys talk about Peyton Manning. I know that was definitely a money decision as well, but, you know, the Colts got rid of Peyton Manning, you know, and, you know, people look back at guys like him and they're like, how do you ever get rid of that? Again, I know that injury played a role in that, but I'm just using it as the, you know, an example of, you know, just because you're a great person and a great player doesn't mean that you're immune from, and doesn't mean that, you know, there can't be some benefit from having some of that turnover as well. I think more we see it from coaches, I think, than we do from players sometimes. The first example I can think of for those who watch baseball is Joe Girardi in 2017. But yeah, you can go through a ton of examples, and I it sucks, but, you know, sometimes it happens.
Yeah. The one thing for me, it was Simmons. I mean, his play on the field is going to be hard to replace, but it's more the off the field stuff. I mean, he did a lot. I mean, he was a leader. He did a lot of things off the field, man of the year. I mean, he was great in the community, different things like that. I think that is what is going to almost be as hard as on the field production.
Yeah, 100%. And Graham's kind of coming in with a similar comment. He says they didn't just get rid of a good player; they got rid of leadership. And yeah, might have lost Jody there for a second, so we'll see if we get him back here in just a moment. If not, we're just about to the wrap. Oh, there he is. He's good. Whew! Thought we almost lost Jody again for 3 months. No, you know, like I said, having the opportunity to meet Justin Simmons, even though it was just briefly, I always said, if Justin Simmons is your hero, they say don't meet your heroes, you might be disappointed. Go ahead and meet Justin Simmons. He's that guy. He is the man of the year. He is that steward in the community. He was that leader in the locker room, and that is absolutely tough to change over, to get rid of. You know what I mean? it just means there's got to be somebody else, and this is kind of the nature of the game and life and how things had to happen, right? New leaders need to step up as old leaders move on, and it's sad to see Justin Simmons go, but I'm excited to have him. Excited to see the new leadership come into the Denver Broncos. I'm going to run through just a few comments, guys, and then we're right at the hour, so we'll get wrapping up and get ready for our next show come next Tuesday. But Nigel's coming in and says, if we go 8-9 this season, that's a great rebuild starting point. And Sean Payton as a coach makes not great team better and overperform. So he's looking for a Sean Payton boost in and of itself, even if the team isn't necessarily up to par, living at the bottom of some statistical categories last year. So we could certainly see some improvement.
I have something off that real quick.
Yeah,
I really don't. For this year, especially with a rookie quarterback, I really don't. I mean, I want to see us win games and stuff, but I don't really care about wins so much. I want to see some things built with Bo Nix, and I want to see some of the things that everyone said. This is why you can't keep Russell Wilson, because he doesn't fit what Sean Payton was all about, and and everyone that said he was stubborn and wouldn't adjust to Wilson. Well, show it now. This is why he didn't adjust to Russell Wilson and why he stuck to his guns. And if we start seeing some of that stuff, then next year, that's when I want to see wins and some different things. I want to see just if you get a CJ Stroud type thing, then that's awesome, but that's not what my expectations are. I just want to see things clicking with Bo Nix, and that leads into year 2. Then I want to start seeing the wins after that.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough, right? Kind of biting our tongue. We're all kind of ready for wins, and we're ready for production, and we're ready for great things to be happening. But you're right, man. Don't expect necessarily CJ Stroud, Houston Texans type of run out of the Broncos. That's kind of fairy tale type of stuff. We'll leave our pixie dust for another day. I think just seeing, like you said, the offense looking like they go out there with a plan that they can actually productively produce out on the field on a consistent basis, you know what I mean? And not feel like, we're a 3-and-out type of team just all the time.
And that's like where I'm at. But I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but if you think that he was sabotaging Wilson or couldn't call his plays because Russ couldn't run whatever, throw over the middle, whatever, then you handpicked your guy, and so now run it and put a game plan together that you can get everything you need out of a quarterback, and then we shouldn't have these type of things where I had to throw it 40 times and I couldn't do what I needed to do. This should be get him ready, and that's what I want to see. I want to start seeing signs of the old Sean Payton, Drew Brees offense.
That would be nice, man. I'm going to get one last question, and then I'm going to get some final thoughts from you guys. We'll wrap up and we'll get out of here. But Graham comes in. He just wants us to do one thing. He says, can you predict one team each where Simmons will sign? I will go ahead and I'll start off with Scoop. Scoop, where do you think that Simmons could land?
Boy. I'm trying to think of like all the safeties, like team safety situation.
Do you think the Eagles are a possibility? I've been seeing reports of that.
You have or have not been?
No, I have. I haven't seen them recently, but in the early stages, I've seen the Eagles a lot come up. Do you see that or no?
I could have seen it before the draft. We added so much in the secondary during the draft, and I think we really want to see those guys play. I think this is a team now where we have a lot of veteran leadership. I think you're looking to try and let these young guys start to develop a little bit for when these guys like Slay and others start to retire and pass off that changing of the guard. So while I respect Justin Simmons a lot, and I think he's still got something in the tank, I don't think Philadelphia is the fit that it would have been prior to the draft.
Fair enough. I'll pass it over to you, Jody. I know that we're trying to figure out, the safety rooms of every single NFL team on the fly a little bit here for Graham. But do you have an idea of where Simmons could land? I mean, maybe outside of the Eagles.
I think he's going to go to a contender, and one team to watch, I think, as we get closer to training camp is the Steelers. I think that's a team that's, a couple of pieces away. I mean, they improved their O-line huge in the draft, 3 starters, brought Russ in. They have a running back. They commit to the run. And they have a coach that, unlike, Sean Payton, he will adapt and do different things to his players. I'm not saying that's good or bad. That's what he's been about. And, they won, 9 games with really garbage at quarterback. And now you have a fringe Hall of Fame quarterback there now.
Things could be happening up there in Pittsburgh. Looks like you have an idea there, Scoop?
Yeah, just again, real quick, about 90 seconds worth of information intake there. But Indianapolis seems like they've got a pretty young secondary. So that could be a team that I could see being a fit there if they want to add some veteran presence there. Shane Steichen's in his second year as a head coach there. And I know that they let some guys, some older guys go off their defense last year. Shaq Leonard was one of them. So that could be a team that I could see being a fit in terms of wanting to bring in not just that safety on the field, but that defensive veteran presence off of it.
I agree. And I was right here with Michael. His answer was my answer too, if you guys weren't going to steal it. And I was going to say the Detroit Lions. Ooh. So Detroit Lions, I think, would be a fantastic landing spot from many different reasons. Not only a need, leadership in that secondary, and then, of course, the possibility to maybe go out there and run at the Super Bowl as well from a Justin Simmons standpoint.
I think it's definitely going to be a team that he feels is going to be a contender. Because if not, I mean, he could sign cheap with Denver if that's what he wanted. So it's going to be a team that he thinks he really has a legit chance at winning a ring with.
Yeah, I agree, man. Now that he's kind of sat out there, it's not just a money chase. He can go kind of pick and choose where he wants to go. He'll probably choose his best opportunity. I agree with that. Absolutely. Roy's coming and saying Simmons could possibly land in Atlanta as well. Graham's coming in here and saying, thanks, guys, for probably answering these questions. He said, I had the Steelers in my head within the last 10 seconds. So you guys are lockstep there. And also, India is a good spot, too, according to Graham. You have a young, promising quarterback. Could help Simmons get that championship. There you go. So it would be interesting to see how Indy does with their quarterback. Get a chance to really see him maybe this year, unlike last year. So
I'm a big Anthony Richardson fan. So I hope we get to see more out of him this year.
I agree, man. I think it would be fun to see him excel, and how fun would that be for the NFL? So, guys, we're already a little bit past, about 8 minutes past. You guys get a little bonus footage, I guess, when it comes to Friday night, and especially when the judge comes rolling in after 3 months. So that being said, I'm going to give him the final say. So I'm going to go to Scoop first, maybe get some final thoughts before we get out of here.
Thank you. And Jody, good to see you, man. Good to be back on here with you.
Great to be back.
It's, last week we moved the time of Settle the Scores, and y'all still got to see me on a Friday night. So it was funny how things worked out. Trevor, hope looking forward to seeing you back on here on Tuesday. But thanks again for the invite, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the offseason goes. Go Broncos.
Yeah, go Broncos. Hey, we'll maybe even let you sneak in some more Eagles talk if you keep popping in here on the show a little bit. You never know. I appreciate you coming in here, being knowledgeable on all things Broncos as well, Scoops. And appreciate you jumping in here and being part of the show as always, man. Always bringing the knowledge. We'll get to see more of Scoops because, of course, Settle the Score is now at that Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time right here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also check it out on the K&K Sports Show, as we've kind of combined in order to, settle the score on both networks. So check out Scoops, man. Great broadcast, especially as of lately, man. Bringing the knowledge. I'm telling you, man. You guys are missing out if you're not checking out Settle the Scores, and great Colorado Rockies, and a little NL West at the end of usually every broadcast as well. But that being said, got to bring it back to the judge, man, because, man, it's been too long. It's gone by way too fast. It won't be soon enough again before we see a judge. But thank you so much for being here tonight. Why don't you get some final thoughts in for our Denver Bronco Roundup podcast fans?
I'm excited to be back. Good show. Wasn't one of the Bo Nix, probably wasn't my top pick at quarterback, but I'm on the Bo Nix train now. We're in bed with Sean Payton, as one guy would say, and live or die with Bo Nix now. I want to see Bo Nix getting starter reps from the beginning, and I want to see this offense mesh with Payton and Nix. I really didn't think we were in a full rebuild, and that has came really to. I mean, we've let a couple starters go, but besides that, he's improved, and we've made the best that we could do with the crappy Russell Wilson cap hit, and I think Denver's going to surprise some people, especially if you get decent quarterback play from Bo Nix as a rookie. I mean, I thought Russ played well last year, but he didn't play well for what Sean Payton wanted. And if you can get some of the things that Russell Wilson lacked last year in Payton's offense, I mean, we won 8 games last year?
Yep.
So I think you can get that, maybe more. Don't underestimate some of the positions, and go Broncos. Looking forward to seeing what the future holds.
Will be interesting. And we're only getting really started in this off season. One session of OTAs in the books, guys. Hey, if they're going to point it out, I got to bring it back around. We'll take 2 more seconds because Roy Osborne saying, don't forget about what the Scoops show. So Scoops.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Talk about what's the Scoops, because you know that scheduling a little bit better than me, man.
Yeah, so we did just change that one as well. That is Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain. That's available on, I think, both networks now, What's the Scoop and K&K and the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So, yeah, that's kind of more of a general sports show. I talk about my own perspective on things, but also just, the recent news. If there's been, breaking news throughout the week, I joke every time that I do the show that I have one agenda on Thursday nights, and it's usually completely rewritten by Sunday because of how fast everything happens in sports. So catch me on there. And if you've got something that you want, just to talk about, just either comment during the show or send it to me in advance, and I'll make sure to bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. What's the Scoop? Settle the Scores, Denver Bronco Roundup. Man, I'm telling you what, man, there's so many great things happening, whether it be right here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, whether it be over there on the K&K Sports Show. Got to give all that love over to Morgan Trinkets, who's been a fantastic sponsor of the Denver Bronco Roundup and Rocky Mountain Sports Network as well. Thank you so much. Check out Morgan Trinkets on Facebook today, guys. I got to get this one because Ernie says, you guys are awesome. Well, guess what, man? The posse is awesome. Everybody that came in the comments tonight, everybody that dropped stars, everybody that had questions, we appreciate you guys so much, man. I tell you what, keep growing, keep getting bigger, and you guys are 100% the reason. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks. Big shout out to Phil, who dropped some stars. I thought there was there one more that I was missing? Clayton that dropped stars early as well. So appreciate you guys so much. Again, you can check out the Denver Bronco Roundup every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget about Settle the Scores and What's the Scoop. Check out the K&K Sports Show for that matter, man, and all the fantastic content that they have going on over there, because I'll tell you what, guys, between the K&K Sports Show, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, you can just live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and watch sports podcasts and commentary all day long. I'm telling you what, man. I was thinking about that as we were lining up all those 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time shows right here on this network. So
just talk to Mr. Heron. He seems to be on every show we ever do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's probably got the schedule down. We should get him all taken care of. Have him posted all up there for us, and get the whole schedule for everybody. K and K is great. That's absolutely right, bro. But that being said, guys, we do need to get out, run it around a little bit later. Hope you enjoy the content. Again, every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can catch the Denver Bronco Roundup. But until next time, remember, keep your feet in the stirrups, keep your guns in your holsters, and of course, keep the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, guys, we're out of here. Have a great night.